So people who have attended the classes earlier for the financial management, so they must be knowing that the source of finance we have already discussed. The only thing is we are going to discuss about two more extensions to it, two basic ideas of hire purchase and lease financing, because that has been specifically mentioned in the syllabus. So that's why I've just picked up these two areas. Okay. So we know that the basic idea why we read finance is to understand that what are the sources from where we are getting it, right? It can be for short term, it can be for a long term period, for a medium term period. And to understand that, first you need to know what are the most possible sources over here. So there is no hard and fast classification for the sources of finance, as you say, but you can say depending upon the time frame, depending upon the ownership, etc., you actually get an idea about various such classifications, right? So finance is a significant for business because it cannot carry out its operation even for a single day without finance. It is therefore important to search the sources from where the funds can be collected, right? So the selection of the funds depends upon the amount of the funds required. So if you are like going for a long-term basis of sources of finance, that means you require a large chunk of money for your business or for your own convenience. So funds required for like for a basic business, you'll require funds for machinery, land and building, etc. So in that case, you know, we can go for 5 to 10 years of acquisition of funds. We can go for minimum of 1 year or less than 5 years. So depending upon this, we are having various classifications, right? So here, if you see, I took this classification particularly because this is talking about three about three basic classifications, right? Like the most possible, most you can say the classifications happen. As I told you that
Ma'am,
there
your
is
voice,
no.
ma'am, your voice is cracking.
Just a minute. Is it fine now?
Yes, ma'am, a little better.
Okay. Okay. So as I told you that the classification of finance, there's no hard and fast rule like from which source you're going to get and all, but I've chose this particular classification because this is having the most possible classifications that you can get in your question paper, or the most possible or the most popular rather, I can say, right? So first thing is, when you are taking up any source of finance, so first thing is the mode of repayment. That is the basic idea, right? So in that repayment area, it can be either a long-term thing, it can be a medium-term thing, or a short-term. Short-term is like within 1 year, you are just paying them back, right? Medium-term is more than 1 year, but less than 5 years. Now, when it goes above 5 years, it comes into the category of long-term, right? So you can see some of the examples for this long-term over here: the equity share capital, the preference shares, the debentures that we take, etc. These are all long-term things, right? These are all long-term sources of funds. Tenure of repayment, the classifications based on the tenure of repayment, or you can say basis of the time period for each sources of finance, right? So we have discussed that when it comes to be a long-term source of finance, when it becomes a medium term, and when it becomes a short term. So if you see, in short term, there are mostly like trade credit, bank loans, cash credits, ones which get exhausted within a year itself, right? You do not generally tend to have longer duration of repayments in these cases, maximum of 1 year. Now, based on the according to the ownership, right? We know that for a big companies, we generally, you know, issue shares, or we go for issuing debentures. So the primary difference between equity shares and debentures are what? The shareholders are what? The owners of the business. But debenture holders are what? They are the borrowers or the lenders, right? So in that case, the source that you're selecting for your finance determines the ownership of the business. Like if you're issuing shares, you're actually making people the owners of your company. But if you're actually issuing debentures, you're actually taking a borrowed capital. So depending upon that, we can again segregate into as owned capital and borrowed capital, right? Then we have according to the source of generation, like from where we have actually generated the sources of finance. Sometimes it happens that you have a lot of retained earnings, you have a lot of savings, and that you invest back into your business. But sometimes you have like that, no, I do not want to invest from my own pocket, I want to take money from the outside, right? So I can go for issuing debentures, I can go for taking some credits or loans from the bank, etc. So if you see over here, there are majority of the examples. If you see now, the 8 point in the external source is the hire purchase. So we will be discussing hire purchase in detail and an alternative to hire purchase. Okay, it is also an external source of finance, and both of these hire purchase and this lease financing are one of the external sources of finance, and they are starch alternates to each other. Okay, so for here in this particular chapter, we'll be discussing in detail about this area. Okay, now then in the next slide, we will see the basics of these long-term sources, medium-term sources, and the short-term sources that I talked about. So I'll just read it. A firm needs funds to purchase the fixed assets. So just minded that for long-term sources, we generally go for big investments. Now, big investments are involved in what? In the fixed assets, right? Land, plant and machinery, furnitures, etc. So these assets should be purchased from those funds which have a longer maturity repayment period, right? Now, the capital required for purchasing these assets is known as a fixed capital. So the funds required for fixed capital must be financed using long-term sources of finance. Now, also it is said that since these fixed assets give you a returns in a longer period of time, so it is wise to, employ long-term sources instead of taking short-term credits to finance these assets. Similarly, for medium term, now medium term you can say is a mixed match. Like if you need something for some assets that would benefit you for 2 years, 3 years, right? So they will require some amount of investment. So now you cannot go for a short term areas because within 1 year you have to pay back, and such a large amount paying back into 1 year, and then on the other hand you're getting the benefits of that particular assets in 3-4 years, so it will be a loss for you. So you'll try to match up that within 5 years what are those expenses or what are those areas where I'll get good returns and I can invest over there, and you'll go for searching the medium term sources of finance, right? So funds required for say a heavy advertisement campaign. So you know that this advertisement campaign is something what? It will be giving you returns in 2 to 3 years, right? Or minimum of more than 1 year time is required. So in that case, medium term sources of finance would be needed, right? So benefit of which lasts for more than one accounting period should be financed through medium term sources of finance. Okay. Now, the short-term sources, this is basic, like your working capital expenses, whatever working capital expenses you are having, your day-to-day expenses, right? So the short-term sources are the ones which you are actually using for your day-to-day expenses. Okay, so these are the three basic categories. And this category is not something new to you, but you need to know these terminologies because you can't know all the sources of finance at one time. But you have to, like when you're facing a question, you have to understand the origin of that particular source of finance. So if you're clear with these three ideas, you can actually take up other whatever sources of finance is given to you. You can actually know that, okay, this is coming from this particular origin, so it has to fall under this particular category, right? So next we will see about the owned capital and the borrowed capital. So owned and borrowed, as I told you, it depends upon the source of finance that is actually giving you ownership of not. If it is giving your owner any kind of ownership, that means it's a form of owned capital. Like if you are suppose getting from the equity capital or from retained earnings or any preference shares. So these all sources are actually making you the owners of the business, right? So equity share has a perpetual life and are entitled to residual income of a firm. But equity shareholders have the right to control the affairs of the business because they enjoy the voting rights. Now, these things are not so much material to our concept. The basic concept is that there is a owned capital. And how do you know the owned capital? That the sources of finance, are they giving you the ownership titlement? If they are giving you an ownership titlement, that is an owned capital. Okay. Then we have the borrowed capital. Just the vice versa of this, that if it is giving you an entitlement of a lender, right, that you are lending money to the business, in that case it's a borrowed capital. You're borrowing it from some outside sources. So any kind of debentures, any kinds of term loans, public deposits, borrowings from the bank, etc. These things are all related to the borrowed capital. And then the next two, the internal and the external sources, just the idea that from where exactly the sources are coming. Like, is it coming internally from within the business, right? Basically, the word that we use over here is plowing back of profit, right? Whether that is happening or we are taking it from some external sources. So here, if you see in external sources, I've added two examples: lease financing and hire purchase. The ones that I told you that we'll be discussing in details. Okay. So we'll see what are these two types of financing. Yeah. Okay. So now we'll be discussing with the lease financing. So for lease financing, just know it's a kind of rent, but with rent, you're having some sort of sense of ownership with you, right? You can operate your business over there, but you are not entitled to be the owner of that particular asset. So basically, in lease financing, what happens? There is a contractual agreement between the owner and the one who is buying that particular asset, and then the person who is buying that particular asset or tend to take that asset on lease will be giving you regular payments, will be giving the owner a regular payments, and what will happen? That they will be entitled to use that particular asset. So I'll just read out what it is written here. So the acquisition of assets, particularly expensive capital equipment, like if you say you want to open a school and you need a lots of land in your favor, right? So in that case, what you will do, you cannot go and buy. It's not like normal to go and buy land at any point of time. It will require a high amount of capital. So generally what happens when these lands are required for any particular non-profit organizations, some big organizations, they tend to take it on a lease. Okay. So particularly expensive capital equipment, it is a major commitment for many business. So how that acquisition is funded requires a careful planning. Rather than pay for assets outright using cash, it can often make a sense for business to look for the ways of spreading the cost of acquiring an asset to coincide with the timing of the revenue generated by the business, right? So the most common source of here, it will not be medium term, it will be long term. Long term finance for investment in capital assets are hire purchase and leasing. So generally what happens is, as I told you, since in some cases where a lot amount of capital commitment is required, people generally don't go for investing their money in that. What they do, they take up it on either on lease or on hire purchase. We'll see what are the basic difference between lease and hire purchase, right? So leasing and hire purchase are the financial facilities which allow a business to use an asset over a fixed period in return of regular payments. So the one thing that is common in both these categories are you will be actually paying some regular payments to that. You're not going to pay a chunk of amount for the ownership, but which normally people do. So a business customer chooses the equipment it requires and the company buys it on behalf of the business. Okay. So this is what we understand by these two categories. Now we'll see. When it comes to leasing, there are hire purchase and there is proper core leasing. So the basic difference between hire purchase and leasing is what? In leasing, the ownership will never pass to the one who is buying it. But in hire purchase, the ownership comes to the person who is buying it. We'll just discuss it after I read through all the lines. So with a hire purchase agreement, after all the payments have been made, the business customer becomes the owner of the equipment. This ownership transfers either automatically or on the payment of an option to the purchase fee. So just take it in this sense that when a hire purchase is happening, okay, so there is an agreement between two parties. There is a hire purchase agreement between two parties. So what will happen? The owner of that particular commodity or asset, what they'll do, they'll ask for some amount of down payment and say that, okay, you are going to give me the rest amount in installments. And what will happen? By that time you're giving me all these amounts in installments, you can keep the assets. The asset is your now. You can do whatever you want to do with that particular assets. It's totally your responsibility now. You are now the, you can say, the owner of that particular asset. So ownership gets transferred. Okay. So that is what you mean by a hire purchase. So for tax purposes, from the beginning of the agreement, the business customer is treated as the owner of the equipment and so can claim the capital allowances. Capital allowances can be a significant tax incentive for business to invest in a new plant, machinery, or to upgrade an information system. So since they become the owners of those assets, they can actually go for taking up the capital allowances, right? And also the business customer, the one who is buying that particular assets, once the down payment is done, now they will be responsible for everything, like any repair and maintenance is required to that particular asset, or anything happens to that asset, who would be liable? The one who is buying it or who has given the down payment, right? Though the complete ownership has not come under that person yet, as rest of the payments are left, but the responsibility of the assets lies upon the customer, the one who is buying it. Okay, so this is what you understand from the hire purchase. Then we have leasing. So in leasing, what happens? The fundamental characteristics of the lease is that the ownership never passes to the business customer. So if you are buying anything on lease, so you can operate on that particular asset, you can use that particular assets for your own business things, but I am the owner of that particular assets. You will often hear that the properties that are generally bought on lease, you don't get any bank loans on it. You cannot use it as a collateral. Why can't you use it? Because you are not the entitled owner of that particular building or that particular asset. I mean the land or whatever you are taking on lease, right? People tend to take these lease because it involves a very low amount of capital investment. We'll see the advantages of leasing later. So what happens that instead of investing a lot much in a land or any building or anything of that sort, they'll just take it on lease. Like, I just need to operate, I don't want an ownership, right? So instead, the leasing company claims the capital allowances and passes some of the benefits onto the business customer by the way of reduced rental charges. So what happens in case of leasing? What happens? It's a form of basically a rented organization. Like, if you are taking, suppose, a land, let's say you want to open a school and you have taken a land on lease, right? So how you are going to actually take that lease? So you will be paying rents to the owner, that okay, I'll be paying you monthly this much amount of money, and you give this particular area, keep it under my control. I can do whatever I feel like doing over here. I can build a building, I can do all the business interest, I can fulfill all my business interest. I don't want to be the owner of this area, but whatever operation that is happening over here, that would be mine. The business would be mine, the revenues that I'm generating, that would be mine. But I don't want to be the owner of this place, so I'll give you rent just to allow me to operate over here, right?
So, ma'am, in leasing, is there any like fixed time period also? Like for how many years I'm going to
Yeah,
give this particular land on
there is
lease?
an agreement. Yeah, there is an agreement. Both in case of hire purchase and leasing, when you are making this agreement, there is a contracted time frame. Like, for this time frame, I'm going to give you this land. Suppose I'll giving you this land for next 6 to 7 years. You can keep this land. After 6 to 7 years, you have to renew it.
Okay.
Okay, you have to renew it.
Ma'am,
Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah.
if we purchase a bike in installment, is that the example of hire purchase?
Purchase a bike.
Yes, ma'am. If I purchase a bike in installment.
So if you see, if you're purchasing a bike on installment, so what is happening? You're making some down payment, and at that very moment, the bike is yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is happening? If that bike is yours, it's not related to, you can say, even if you're not able to do that installments and all, you are not actually using it for any business matters, right? Once you are the owner, once you have made the down payment, you are entitled to be the owner now. And there is no agreement as that sort. There is basically what you do. You do it on EMI basis, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is a method of payment, you can say, for purchasing any particular assets. That is different. This is an idea where you are actually making the down payment, that is true. You are making an installment, that is true. But that is an agreement that is happening between the two parties. When you're taking a bike, it's not an agreement. It's a simple area where you are purchasing a bike. You have went to purchase a bike and you have bought that particular bike. You have made the installment and then the rest made the down payment, and the rest you are saying that I'll just go with the EMI method of payment. That is a method of payment. That is different.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, can you explain the meaning of capital allowances?
Capital allowances. Okay, we'll
Yes.
discuss this when we'll be discussing about the benefits of leasing. At that point, I'll tell you.
Okay, ma'am.
There will be discussing about the taxation here. So there will be telling you. Okay. Sir, again, I'm seeing a green screen. Ah, it's fine. Okay. So now we'll be discussing about various types of leasing agreements, right? So one of them is finance leasing. Now, when I'm reading through this, you will be finding it kind of similar with a hire purchase. Okay. So a finance lease or a full payout lease is closest to the hire purchase alternative. The leasing company recovers the full cost of equipment plus charges over the period of lease. Okay. Although the business customer does not own the equipment, they have most of the risks and rewards associated with the ownership. They are responsible for maintaining and insuring the assets and must show the leased assets on their balance sheet as a capital item. So though they are not the owners, right? This is a slight difference between hire purchase and your leasing, that you nowhere become a owner. But what is happening? Within this period of lease, you are actually recovering the entire payment for that particular asset, first thing. And second thing, this is happening so you're associated with the risks and rewards of that ownership. Okay, you're associated with that risk and rewards of that ownership. So basically, when you are showing a balance sheet, since you are not the owner of that particular item, you won't show that in your balance sheet, right? That I do not have this asset, technically speaking. But if you are going for a finance leasing, you have to show that in your capital sheet, your capital item. Okay.
Can you please explain it again, ma'am?
See, what is happening in a lease, as I told you, that you give normal rents, right? And you said that, okay, fine, you can operate as an owner over here, but you're not the owner, right? So in case of finance lease, what is happening, or a full payout lease, as the name suggests, the leasing company is responsible to recover the full cost of equipment plus the charges over the period of lease. So what will happen in the form of rent? Yeah, they're taking rents, right? But what they'll do, they'll recover the entire amount or the entire price of that particular equipment from you. In lease, what happens? There is a very minimum amount of rental involved. You pay really less amount, right? It nowhere covers the basic price value of the particular equipment. That's why you're not getting the ownership. But in finance leasing, what is happening? The company is trying to take over or to take back the entire amount or the entire price of the equipment from you over this period of lease. But what is happening? The person is still not entitled to be the owner of that particular amount, though he has paid the entire amount, but he is not entitled to be the owner of that particular equipment. But by the time he's paying these installments and he's using it in the form of lease, he is supposed to show that particular item in the balance sheet. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Then, when the lease period ends, the leasing company will usually agree to a secondary lease period at a significantly reduced payments. Alternatively, if the business wishes to stop using the equipment, it may be sold second hand to an unrelated third party. The business arranges the sale on behalf of the leasing company and obtains the bulk of the sale proceeds. Now see what is happening. When you're taking this lease, right, you're not entitled to be the owner, but since you have given the full payout, you have paid the entire amount, you are associated with the risks and rewards of that particular equipment, right? So how will you be associated with this risk and reward? What is the risk and reward for any ownership? The next transfer of ownership, if that is happening, whatever the risk and rewards that is coming, that will come to your help, right? So in that case, what is happening? If you are going for a finance leasing, so what will happen? It will help you understand that once the period is over, once my tenure is over, suppose after 10 years, it is the time of renewal of my lease, right? So there will be two situations. Either you pay up now a minimum amount of rent for continuing your operation because you have already paid the entire value of the equipment, or what do? You transfer this lease to someone else, and whatever proceeds you get from that particular transfer, that second hand transfer, would come into your pocket as a customer. Okay, you will be enjoying the profit over that particular shift in leasing. So that is the reason, if you say that if ultimately we are paying the entire amount, why to go for leasing, right? So this is where the business, they take a risk, that if after 10 years, situations of that lease or the value of that lease, that particular equipment increases and the lease is happening again, either you can continue over there if it's giving you good profits, or you can simply go that, no, I don't want to continue, I want to sell it to someone else, I want to shift this ownership to some leasing to someone else. So whatever proceeds you are going to get, it will be the entire sale proceeds that the person is taking, someone who's taking, and you will be arranging for that second hand use.
So, ma'am, like it is actually at the end of the leasing, it is we are actually selling it off to the third party.
Selling it off is not a right word. It is basically transferring the lease.
Yeah. Okay.
Selling would come when you are the owner, but you are not the
Yeah.
owner, right? But
Yeah.
if you see over here, all the benefits are coming as the owner only. You are showing it in your balance sheet. You are entitled to sell it, but then again, you are not the owner. Okay.
Right.
Then we move to operating leasing. So if a business needs a piece of equipment for a shorter period of time, then operating leasing may be the answer. So leasing company will lease the equipment expecting to sell it second hand at the end of the lease, or lease it again to someone else. It will therefore not need to recover the full cost of equipment through the lease rentals. So this type of lease is common for equipment when there is a well-established second-hand markets like cars and construction equipment. The lease period will usually be 2 to 3 years, although it may be much longer, but is always less than the working life of a machine. Assets financed under operating lease are not shown as an assets on the balance sheet. Instead, the entire operating lease cost is treated as a cost in the profit and loss account. Now see, I want to take up some equipment for a shorter period of time, right? And I don't want to invest so much of amount in that. So what will I do? I can go for operating leasing. That by the time of operation, by the time I need it, I'll just pay lease rentals to them and I'll use that particular asset or that particular equipment. And people who generally tend to give these kinds of assets on lease are the ones who knows that there is a very ready secondary market, that once the lease period is over, immediately that particular equipment will get another buyer. So in that cases, we get this operating leasing. And since you're not paying the entire amount, you're not recovering the entire cost of equipment, you are not entitled to show it on your balance sheet. It's a cost for you, right? It's a basic rental cost for you. And you are using that particular equipment for your own business, but you are actually not the owner of that particular area, of that particular equipment. Okay. So this is what you mean by operating leasing.
मैम फाइनेंस लीजिंग बैलेंस शीट में शो होगी?
Yes, that is what I told you now, that you are in finance leasing since you are paying the entire cost of equipment. So though you're not the owner, but you're entitled to all the benefits that an owner gets, right? Balance sheet mein show karo, go for making, making a second hand sell of that particular asset, or you get capital allowances on that. We'll discuss what do you mean by capital allowances later. So these are the things that you get in the finance leasing. And also the fact is that since it is for a larger chunk, you can say that finance leasing is a different thing. But operating leasing, if you see cars, construction equipments, these will always have a ready-made secondary market, right? So in these cases, it's not like feasible, or it's not wise to take up of finance leasing. It's wise to take up operating leasing. Why to when we can take it on a lesser rentals? Why to pay the full cost of equipments, right?
Right.
Okay. Now we have the contract hire. So contract hire is a form of operating lease, and it is often used for vehicles. Now the leasing company undertakes some responsibility for the management and maintenance of the vehicles. Services can include regular maintenance and repair costs, replacement of tires and batteries, providing replacement vehicles, roadside assistance and recovery services, and the payments of the vehicle lenses. So basically, this contract hire is nothing but a form of operating leasing, and specifically for the vehicles. Right? Okay. Now here we'll be discussing about we'll be discussing about the advantages of leasing, right? So the use of hire purchase or leasing is a popular method of funding the acquisition of capital assets. However, these methods are not necessarily suitable for every business or for every asset purchase. There are a number of considerations to be made before. So you need to first see the certainty. Now, one most important advantage is that a hire purchase or a leasing agreement is a medium-term funding facility, or you can say a long-term, medium-term in case of operating leasing, but when you go for finance leasing, it turns into a long-term one, which cannot be withdrawn, provided the business makes a payment as they fall due. So the uncertainty that may be associated with alternating funding facilities, such as overdrafts, which are repayable on demand, is removed. However, it should be borne in the mind that both the hire purchase and leasing agreements are long-term commitments. It may not be possible or could prove costly to terminate them early, right? So you need to be like certain with the decision about the hire purchase and leasing agreements, because ultimately what you're doing, you're going for a long-term commitment. Once the contract is done, you have to abide by those contracts, right? You cannot revoke it at any point of time. Once the payments are falling due, you have to fulfill that particular payment, first thing. And the second thing, since it is a long-term commitments, you have to make sure that you are certain about the decision you are taking. You're certain about the assets that you're taking on lease, right? Then the budgeting is the regular nature of hire purchase or lease payments helps business to forecast the cash flow. The business is able to compare the payments with the expected revenue and the profits generated by the use of assets. So what happens? You need to first understand that before taking anything on lease, that if I operate my business through this, what is the revenue that I'm gonna get? Is it much higher than the rental that I'm paying? Or if I take the complete ownership, will I be able to cover up the revenue, and will I be able to cover up my profits to get enough profits? If yes, it is obviously wise to take up the risk of buying that particular asset. But see, if you realize that no, the investment is huge and I might not get enough profits from while operating through this particular equipment or through this particular asset, so what you will do, let's not take the risk, let's go for leasing, so that I spend less and my basic revenue that I'm generating, I'm covering much more than my revenue, and I'm earning profits, right? Then a fixed rate finance. So see, since we know that this particular in this lease financing and hire purchase, the payments that you're making is fixed. So basically it comes under like a rental cost to you. So in most cases, the payments are fixed through the hire purchase or the lease agreement. So business will know at the beginning of the agreement what their repayments will be. This can be beneficial in the times of low, stable or rising interest rates, but may appear expensive if the interest rates are falling. Now see, uh, if you know that now the market is quite expensive to you, and the interest rate that in which the market is operating is now beyond your control, it's obviously wise that you take up on lease. You do not have to take care of the EMIs or any kind of loan. You do not have to take care about the interests and all. But what if the interest rates are falling in your market? So at that time you will be a loser. It will be wise enough to become a complete owner of that particular commodity by taking up the entire payment by yourself only. So in that case, if you see, it's going to be a bit hasty. But again, most of the cases, lease financing comes, profitable to you. Lease financing and hire purchases. On some agreements, such as those for longer run, the finance company or the financing company may offer the option of variable rate agreements. In such cases, rental or installments would vary with the current interest rate. Hence, it may be more difficult to budget for the level of payment. Now, some companies who knows that this particular lease is going to continue till 10-15 years, they might not take a risk of giving like, okay, you give me only the fixed interest, fixed installments or the fixed rentals. They can make a contract as such that you give me, I can charge you variable interest rates depending upon the market scenario. So in that case, the person who is actually buying it can be in a trouble. Then the effect of security. Under both the hire purchase and leasing, the finance company retains legal ownership of the equipment. Now see, legal ownership and actual ownership are two different things. When you are taking anything on lease and finance or any hire purchase thing, in both those cases, until you are your agreement is continuing, you are the legal owner of that equipment. You enjoy the benefits of a owner, but you are not the actual owners of that particular equipment, right? That is the entire idea. Now, by the end, see, at least at the end of the agreement, now what happens in hire purchase, there is a sure shot ownership that is happening, legal ownership. But in leasing, there are, again, as we discussed, there are different types. So the minimum criteria, if you can say that somewhere or the other we get a sort of legal ownership, or we enjoy the benefits of our owner in both the cases, at least until the end of the agreement. This normally gives the finance companies better security than lenders of other types of loan or overdraft facilities. The financing companies may therefore be able to offer better terms. So here it's a security on both the hands. The financing company is also getting a better security over here, fixed terms, or the person, like a person who is taking this particular lease, they will be also secured. The person who is selling it, they will be also secured. So since there are fixed payments and there is a pre-told agreement about it, there is a high sense of security that one enjoys. Now, the decision to provide finance to a small or medium-sized business depends on the business credit standing and the potential. Because the finance company has security in equipment, it could tip the balance in favor of a positive credit decisions. Now, see, these are the factors, like that's the basic factors that any financing company will probe into the matters, like what is your credit standing and potential, right? But what happens in case of when a financing company gives you high amount of loans and all, in that case they might take up more stronger, they can create more stronger conditions for you to take up loan and all. But in lease and hire purchase, they just see whether you will be able to pay the regular minimum returns or not. That's it. Even if you're having not much high capital investments with you or high capital assets with you, you are entitled to get that particular finance. Okay. Yeah. Maximum finance. Hire purchase and lease financing could provide finance for the entire cost of equipment. They may, however, be a need to put down a deposit for hire purchase or to make one or more payment in advance under a lease. It may be possible for the business to trade in other assets which they own as a means of raising the deposits. So if you see over here, the hire purchase and the leasing would actually provide for the entire cost, finance for the entire cost of equipment, right? So as I told you, we saw it in finance leasing. You're paying the entire cost of equipment, but you're not paying it at one go. You're paying it in installments, and you're enjoying the benefits as the owner as well. And once you're selling it off, then also you're enjoying the benefits of resale of to get the resale value of it, right? So in that case, what is happening, once you are actually financing through this lease financing, it's more of a benefit to you. You're actually making maximum out of the finance, that is, you're actually making maximum profits out of the finance that you're actually investing, right? So suppose, and also this is from the buyer point of view. From the seller point of view, the one who is supposed to give their assets on the lease, for them also, just imagine, suppose a particular land is for 10 lakhs, and if a person is not willing to pay 10 lakhs, he wants to take it on lease. Well, fine, you take it on lease for 10 years, give me the basic rentals on it. That's for 10 years you give me. I might not get my 10 lakh recovered from that particular leasing, but imagine that leasing might continue for 20 years, for 30 years. So my returns, I'm actually getting the maximum out of my land over there. Had I resold that land for 10 lakhs, what would have been the probability? I would sell it maximum for 20 lakhs, maximum for 30 lakhs, but that would be a fixed thing, right? But this leasing thing will happen year after year after year, one agreement after one agreement. So I'll be making maximum out of my assets, right? So from both the ends, the lease financing is going to give you maximum profits to you. Now, tax advantage. Now here is what capital allowances is. So capital allowance, if I tell you, so it's a practice of allowing a company to get the tax relief on the tangible capital expenditure by allowing it to be expensed against the annual pre-tax income. So there are certain, specific items of tangible in nature. Here, if you go for capital expenditure on those areas, you will be exempted from certain tax. Okay. So what happens? These particular, you can say the investments in these capital expenditures are huge. And if you go for those huge expenses just for the sake of tax benefits, it's a foolish thing because it will require a lot amount of money in that. So what generally people do, people take those kind of assets on lease so that on one hand they enjoy the capital allowances, on the other hand they do not have to pay a much higher amount as well. Is it clear? So if a business is profitable, it can claim its own capital allowances through hire purchase or outright purchase, right? If it is not in a tax paying position or pays corporate tax at a small company's rate, then a lease should be more beneficial to the business. The leasing company will claim the capital allowances and pass the benefits on to business by way of reduced rentals. So what will happen if you are actually putting it on a lease, and since you're allowing those or you're enjoying those capital allowances, so what is happening? Basically your rentals are getting reduced. You're paying less of rentals right now because you are enjoying some, you can say, exemptions from the tax. Is it clear? Now any doubt with this advantage things?
Ma'am, please repeat the tax advantages again, please.
Okay. See, tax advantage is where, you have bought something, okay, and you get a exemption of tax on those criterias, okay. So these generally happens in case of the equipments or assets which involve a large amount of money, okay. Now once you have taken it on lease, what is happening? You are exempted from tax on one hand, on the other hand you do not have to employ a lot of money in that, right?
Money. Yes, ma'am.
So you are what you are actually doing through lease financing, you are taking the maximum advantage of the capital allowances.
Yes, ma'am.
And this basically this idea of tax allowances is mostly popular in UK and Ireland. There, if you if you see these kind of, if you own a certain kind of if you have made certain kind of capital expenditure, and if you have a business operating on it, so you get some sort of tax advantages on that. You get some sort of capital allowances on that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this chapter was quite small, and I just refreshed it because this is the, you know, the basic structure of any financial thing, right? Anything related to finance, if we are studying, we need to know about this basic structure. So we have discussed this, and the students who are new, as I've discussed earlier, we'll be only covering the theory areas over here. Hardly 4 to 5 topics are left to be covered. All the important practical related questions from the business finance are all covered in our previous management classes. Okay, so there you can take the references from. Is it fine?
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, POP also.
Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So we are done with this particular topic.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.